Newsbud is a truly independent alternative because it is 100% people funded. Without you, we cannot build the independent news source that we, the people, deserve. Visit Kickstarter.com and support Newsbud. Welcome everyone to this special live edition of Spotlight with Sibel and Spiro. Joining me today is the editor and founder of Newsbud, Sibel Edmonds.
Hello everyone, good to be back again with all of you. I hope we will get many people joining in, and I am really looking forward to your questions, to your comments. We have prepared, Spiro and I, several questions that we will also answer. These are some of the most frequently asked questions, but otherwise, please just join us and submit your questions. Don't worry about anything. Don't be bashful. I don't consider any question a stupid question, so please bombard us with questions.
Well, that's right. And we have a lot to cover here in this next hour or so. Everything from government control over the internet to the most recent and significant developments with the ongoing war in Syria. But first, we'd like to remind everyone that Newsbud is a 100% people-funded media organization. That means we rely solely on you, the people, to support and fund our operation, so we can continue to produce our daily content from our expert team of professionals. Now, the best way to support Newsbud is to visit our Kickstarter and pledge your donation today. Our news model, to explain it to everyone, it's a combination of 4-phase Kickstarter campaign plus subscription model. So the 4 phases of the Kickstarter were, in essence, to get us the seed money to build the foundation that we needed to put together a legitimate, real news organization, to build that foundation, to be able to assemble the team and get the needed equipment and everything. So we're halfway through. This is phase 3 right now, currently halfway through phase 3. But during that duration of establishing, going through the Kickstarter program, we're building every day our Newsbud community. And these are our subscribers that are, they have reoccurring monthly or annual subscriptions to our site where they get access to all kinds of exclusive material, perks, if you want to call it that, stuff that's only available to the Newsbud community members. So right now we're about a little more than halfway through our current Kickstarter campaign, phase 3. We're about 25% of the way there. And this is an all or nothing campaign. So that means that your credit cards will not be charged if we fail to meet or exceed our goal. Now, depending on the amount that you do donate, you are eligible for all sorts of different perks, like everything from DVDs to Newsbud hats and complimentary subscriptions, and there's many other perks. So your support is critical to sustain Newsbud's current operations, and we'd like to thank everyone out there for their support.
You and I have been, I know we have had several videos in the past few weeks about the dependency on the system. I mean, what do we mean by that? As we all know, it all started with this whole fake news shenanigan. And of course, we know that the internet is overloaded with what we call or coin as junk news site. But we have also seen this escalation on the attacks that the deep state people or the entities we call on the other side to basically shut down people using this whole excuse of fake news, etc. And there has been back-to-back, almost on daily basis, these news headlines talking about Facebook in England, in the UK, banning 10,000 plus people. They don't have to go to court, folks. They don't have to go and show any kind of evidence and prove that you or any John Doe is disseminating fake news. All they have to do is get rid of you, kick you out. Also, we have been witnessing another front of attacks on various alternative media. Some of them are not really exactly alternative media, but by taking away the ad revenues, especially in this case, Google and YouTube. And also, we all know, all of our viewers know how Google-YouTube plays with their algorithm, and they basically successfully marginalize truth-oriented, non-propaganda-oriented sites, and these are the sites on YouTube. So we have been talking about that, Spiro and I, and there are a couple of other headlines that I know you're going to be covering, Spiro, so I won't go into that. But here is the thing, okay? And this is we the people, we cannot counter the propaganda, the junk news, the fake news, the shadow government / deep state by depending on them. I mean, it doesn't take a genius, high IQ people to figure this out. We can't say, okay, here it is. Here are all the facts and evidence with YouTube, Google doing these, okay, to us, yet continue our dependency on this medium of delivery, okay? One of the things that we have been telling people, all of us, has been the fact, okay, and this is absolutely true, the fact that there is nothing free on the internet. Sure, you can say, well, YouTube is free. Okay, really? But look at the price tag. Take a look at, let's say, some alternative media source or independent information channel based on YouTube, okay? It may be free, but there is no contractual agreement between those people and YouTube, meaning Google-YouTube has no obligation to let you continue on their site. See, that's the catch with the free medium, meaning they can kick you out of YouTube. And again, they don't have to go to court. They don't have to get a subpoena. They don't have to show any probable cause. They can just put something really vague and say, you know, you have violated some of our criteria. Or we have received reports, whether from the government agencies or other people, trolls, that you're fake news or you're violating this and that. And they kick you out, shut you down. Light up, folks. Now think about I don't want to call them idiots. Maybe that's not a good way of calling them. These people who have, they have accumulated 200,000-300,000 followers, okay? Saying, great, I have this medium, is free, YouTube, and I can put all this facts that you don't see or opinion that you don't get to see on the mainstream media, right? The billionaires' own channels. Well, guess what? Once they pull the plug, okay, once they turn it off, you have no way of connecting with your 200,000 people. It doesn't mean anything that you have had those followings. Now, some of these, again, I don't want to call them names, not very smart, astute people, they are actually using the YouTube channels to talk about how bad YouTube is treating them, while they are still putting all their eggs on that basket, the basket being YouTube. That's dumb, folks. What we need to do is we need to preempt it, knowing that Google is in bed with the government, knowing that Google and YouTube is partner with the fake news, the real fake news, mainstream media, and the billionaires, because Google is the billionaires mega company as well. It would be very, very misguided. Again, I'm trying to speak mildly here, to go and say, I'm going to continue and I'm going to wait until the last second, until they kick me out, until they eliminate my access to the community I have gathered, right? Because of that, since our inception as Newsbud, we have been working behind the scenes on establishing multiple platforms. No way we are going to put all our eggs in one basket with YouTube. And as we get more visible and successful and effective, once you start really getting effective, they are just going to send you one-liner saying, bye-bye. It was free. We are not under any obligation to continue our service to you. Then what would we do, right? So to counter that, to preempt that, we at Newsbud has been working, and yes, we have been investing. We have been working on developing other mediums. For example, we have multiple hosting companies with multiple dedicated private servers to say, okay, if something like that happens, and these jerks being YouTube and Google, here I'm giving them a cause to eliminate us, okay? Because we are having this live live session here on YouTube, Spiro, and we are daring them. Do you know why we are daring them? Do you know why I'm not engaged in self-censorship? Oh, let's not piss off YouTube, because right now they can end this live session, folks. You know why? Because we are not dependent only on YouTube. We have multiple servers, private servers, dedicated servers, hosting companies. We also have signed up with one cloud server providers. We are in the process of signing up with another overseas cloud server provider. I'm not going to name that organization right now because we are in the midst of doing that. And I don't know if you can see it, Spiro, behind me. This black machine here is my printer. This is my tiny little office, okay? And I'm sharing it with my husband here. We both work from here. His chair is right here, so we are pretty much cramped here. But next to this black, do you see the gray machine, this clunk that has been taking this space on my shelf? We invested close to $3,000 on one of the top-notch quality mass production DVD production equipment. I don't know what to call it because I'm technologically challenged, but you know why we have it. So let's say YouTube kick us out, okay? Facebook, they pull the plug on us. We have private servers, we can host our own videos there. Let's say those servers kick us out. We have two, right now we have one, we are going to have two different cloud server services that we pay for, by the way. It's not free, meaning we have contractual agreements with companies to say that I'm going to be paying you this money. In fact, I can pay 1 year in advance. You're going to commit to give me this space. This is mine. So does it eliminate the chances of them unplugging? No, but at least it reduces it. So it's not like we are dependent. No, we are paying for it, folks. And worst comes to worst, let's say those cloud server providers, they pull the plug. We have this DVD production machine, meaning with our community, and this is Newsbud community members. These are the subscribers who have formed community with us. This is why Spiro and I and all our team members, we don't call them subscribers. We call them our community members, okay? We will be able to manually put all those videos, especially pertinent information, important information, into DVD forms, and by snail mail, shipping it, sending it to our community members. I know I'm taking a while to go through this, but I want to explain, because I know a lot of people out there, unfortunately, they are ignorant, okay? And they don't realize how dumb it is to say, Google, Facebook is doing this to us. On the other hand, they are operating solely based on those, the enemy's platform. As Newsbud, we are dedicated to eliminate eventually. We have been reducing our dependency and need, and we are going to eliminate our need to rely upon YouTube to deliver our top-notch, high-quality information, presentations, shows, mini documentaries. And this is, again, this is something that a news organization that is funded by the people, okay, can do, because to take the time, to take the energy, but also to take the resources, in this case, financial resources, and say, we're not going to wait till the last second. We want to make sure we have multiple platforms and multiple ways of connecting to our subscribing community members. And with that, I know, Spiro, there's another important developments from the UK that should be shocking to a lot of people, but I'm not sure if it has been really shocking.
Well, you're right. It's kind of Yeah, it is shocking news and information, but at the same time, it's something that's been in the works for a long time. It's something that we've seen them making steps towards incrementally, and it's getting to the point to where this is something that, you know, we really need to take seriously. Just last year, maybe it would have been considered a conspiracy theory, but here we are looking at the UK. Theresa May is planning to introduce a huge regulations on the internet. They're in the works right now. And this would allow the government to decide what content is allowed to be online. Now, this would, I mean, that in itself should send chills down your spine. Now, this came soon after the Investigatory Powers Act came into law there in the UK. And that legislation allows the government to force internet companies to keep records on their customers. That's you, folks, and keep tabs on your browsing history, as well as giving ministers power to break into supposed secure applications like WhatsApp so that those messages can be read and all of this information can be handed over to the government. Now, they're saying that this would be basically creating a new internet that would be controlled and regulated by the government. And as I said before, we have seen incrementally it progress towards this direction. And of course, this is all being justified by the government to give the government complete control over the internet in an effort to combat hate speech, pornography, extremism, and terrorism. But they also seek to regulate the news that is posted on sites like Google and Facebook. And this goes directly into what you were just talking about with dependency upon these platforms. Yes, Google and Facebook are independent companies, but if you look at how these companies began, they began with very close ties within the intelligence community. So they already have started, you know, this shady relationship with the governments. And it looks like they're obviously consolidating that power and control, and they're going to try to control what access you have to information. So that's one of the main reasons also that we have been talking about this for a long time, about establishing our own community at our own site where we are not part of, we don't want to have to rely on Google and Facebook and YouTube and all of this stuff, because you're right, Google can or YouTube can just restrict our channel, say that we violated community guidelines, not tell you what you did wrong, but just shut your channel down. And then, how are we supposed to communicate with everyone who, you know, all of our supporters, everyone who likes this information? Well, that's one of the great things about being a member of the Newsbud community. And it's very inexpensive for the price of a fancy drink at Starbucks. I mean, it all comes down to value, basically. But we're setting ourselves up in a position to where we are going to be as dependent as possible. So it's something that I'm very excited about, and I definitely encourage everyone out there. And also, you're going to get all kinds of access to exclusive content that we're producing on a daily basis. So it's something that we don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket. In other words, we don't want to be shut down. So rather than trying to be reactionary, we're trying to be ahead of it. That way there's no, they could shut us down. They can shut down our social media networks, but we can still get you the information. Like Sibel was saying, even if we have to mail you the DVDs, we're prepared to do that. So.
Absolutely, Spiro. And this is one of the things that right now we are working with our web admin person to include in our subscription sign up. Of course, we are going to make that voluntary, meaning if it's not like you have to fill out the section that says address, your physical address. We are very conscious of your privacy. I don't like to usually give out my address. I mean, I would give it to a site like us if I know this site very well, or maybe one other or two others possibly, but there will be an asterisk in front of it saying optional, meaning if you choose to, if you want, put your address there as community subscribing community member. And that way, when the push comes to shove, which is coming, I mean, it's already here, it's coming, then we have that channel possible too, meaning we will be able to mail to you in DVD format. So they have to really tackle and attack us from 5 different sides, including snail mail, email, downloading, etc., to eliminate our reach and our communication with our community members, our subscribing community members. Another important thing I think we need to mention, Spiro, is we said we want to establish this organization that is 100% people funded. We don't run ads. We do not like sites that run ads. You're dependent on the same corporations that you're supposedly fighting. And we also ask our viewers who are awake, if they go to these sites and they see these ads, just get out, because you're supporting mega corporations and they are not alternative. As long as they depend on those mega corporations' advertisements, they are no different than the mainstream media. But compare, for example, the budget we have and what we are trying to do to counter the enemies to the enemy's budget. When you look at the amount of millions of dollars, no, actually billions of dollars, for the mainstream fake news channels, whether it's CNN or the PBS or the CBS, HBO, etc., and then see, well, that's ludicrous to even say we expect people with such small budget to truly, daily, actively counter the enemy's platforms. They have billions of dollars. Here we are trying to reach these several $100,000. We are so dwarfed. We are not, it's like an elephant and an ant, right? Same thing with the pseudo alternatives. I mean, you look at some of these channels that are funded by people with evil people like George Soros. Look at their budgets, 10, 15, 20 million dollars. They don't even put daily content out there. So in order to counter that, we rely on the people and the numbers, saying we're not going to have 1 or 2 billionaires to come and hand us, for $500,000 or $1 million to put together a daily, active, effective news information site. We're not going to rely on those corporations and their advertisements to keep us in business so we can deliver content, and we have to keep censoring ourselves because we don't want to piss off our bosses. That leaves people. But here's the advantage. The advantage of relying on the people is you're looking at what? I don't know, 10,000 people. I mean, we're looking at just in the United States alone, 380 million population. 10,000 people together, they can make the site a size that can counter. We don't need millions of people. All it takes a community of dedicated activists saying, it's about time. To this date, we haven't had a full-fledged news site, information analysis, multimedia, everything, okay, that can stand up and counter the propaganda channels. But we, the people, can make it, and it's very easy. And that's exactly what this Kickstarters and our subscription program is about. We have kept our promise. We are not going to give you ads. We are not going to make deals with the devils out there, the devils that we are fighting. We are going to rely only on you, the people. Okay? So is it possible, even though they are the elephants currently, we are the tiny little ants? Of course it's possible. What does it depend upon? It depends upon you, the people, our community members. And another thing that comes up frequently is about, people who are putting out, some facts and information, they shouldn't treat this thing as a job. They should do it on the side free and make it available and not get paid for it. Well, this is why we have gotten where we are today, people. You know why? Because when you get some incredibly talented, good, independent journalists or producers, they are not able to put that in use and deliver to you facts to counter propaganda, because they have to go scramble, find jobs, and make living so that they can feed themselves and pay their rents and take care of their spouses, and in many cases children. So there is no way, when you have spouse and kids and a full-time job and commuting, that you can dedicate the required hours for research, production, post-production editing, and you can't do that. And we are not that. As our team members, we have this revenue sharing mechanism in place, meaning whatever we get from our community, and this is through Kickstarter, this is through our subscription model, we take it and we share it as income among our team members. At the first of every month, March 1st, April 1st, May 1st, every single team member, they get compensated, they get paid so that they can afford spending those 20, 30 hours per week producing this. And if you look at the About Us section on Newsbud and take a look at the caliber of people we have, absolutely. I mean, actually, our people deserves more. And that's one of the things that I have promised myself even before we started Newsbud with the first Kickstarter was, I want this organization to be one of the best paying people-dependent media organizations out there, so we can hire the best and deliver the best to our community members. And they do deserve the best, and they are going to get paid. And as we are more successful, every single team member is going to get more payments. So hopefully a lot of them can be working with us full-time. We want to hire investigative journalists full-time. And yes, we want to pay them the fair amount, the good amount. We want to be able to bring in interns, because one of the things they are doing, and this is something that we haven't talked about, Spiro, they are killing this whole, I don't want to say that the field of journalism. A lot of people, they don't even want to go and study or train as journalists because they're saying, I have to eat, man. You know, how am I going to pay? So I have to go and become whatever, programmer, etc. Even though my heart is in the right place. I want to be a journalist. I want to be an activist for truth as a journalist and do this. But the thing is, the industry is such that they are underpaid or they are not paid. Well, as Newsbud, we are going to challenge that. We are challenging it currently. We want to challenge it more. We want to bring in investigative journalists, the right kinds, okay? On daily basis, we are getting applications from people. They are sending us their resume and they are seeking jobs. Some of these candidates, I look and I go like, wow, I wish we could hire this person because this person is the right kind of a person for this and that story that we have in mind for investigative journalism, but we need to have the funding to do that. And we are being frugal right now, and we are not expanding. And that has been my response to applicants who are sending us applications. It's like, please sit tight. I know you're looking for a job. Hopefully, we will be there in maybe 6 months from now. That again depends on you, the people. You determine how many people we can hire. You determine what good level of salary we can provide. But that is not something to be ashamed of. That's something to be proud of. And anybody out there, and they are usually trolls, who come and say, no, the people, I mean, they call themselves, I don't know what they call, YouTubers. People should just sit there in their PJs with no respect for their viewers, you know, and give their personal opinion, and let's call that journalism. That's not journalism. I personally don't have any respect for anyone who neglects their children and spouse and responsibilities to live well, to eat well, to feed their dependents, and then spend all this time out there putting whatever, usually it's the fluff information. So I just wanted to clarify that is one of our principles, and I know our community members absolutely appreciate that, support that. We share revenue. We want to hire good journalists. We want to bring back the not, I don't want to call it glamour, but the honor, the pride that is associated with journalism. They have killed it. They have killed it. Mainstream media, they hire entertainers, folks. Okay, they're sitting there, they're talking about whatever Melanie Trump's behind or nose. And I mean, is that journalism? No, it's not. Same thing is true with so many of these junk news sites. That is an insult to this honorable field called journalism. And another way of defining it is activism for the truth and communicating the independent truth, not flavored by partisanship, not flavored by nationalism, not flavored with any of those propaganda or agenda stuff. Pure, independent analysis, information, news.
That's right. I mean, they say that the pen is mightier than the sword, and they say that for a reason. And if you look throughout history, even recent history, with $500 million contracts with the CIA and certain media organizations, I mean, there was a famous quote by a former CIA director saying something along the lines that there isn't any major media outlet that the CIA or that the agency hasn't infiltrated, basically. And I mean, that's something that really people should take into consideration. Just a year or two ago, 2 years ago, they made it legal. The government made it legal to propagandize the public and to weaponize the news and information. And they're doing all this for a reason. And that's why they're trying to brand and discredit sites as being illegitimate or fake news and all of that. So that's another one of the main reasons, obviously, why we are people funded, because we're not going to be co-opted by any of these agencies or NGOs or foundations or any of that. We don't want their dirty money. I mean, it really is dirty money. And it's, we have principles. We want to maintain our credibility and be objective and remain objective. And Sibel, we were asking our people here in the live chat who are watching this to submit their questions, and we had some of the questions come through that you actually kind of answered already there previously. Okay. One was from a question from Neo, and he was asking, where do you see Newsbud in 1 year from now? And I think you kind of answered that one already, but the other one that you were hitting on was people were asking, you know, what is the criteria to work for Newsbud? And you kind of were hitting on that one too. That's a question we've been getting a lot in emails and everywhere.
Yes, it's a perfect question. I'll answer both. As you said, we have answered it during our conversation here, where we want to be in 1 year. First, the simple answer is it all depends on you. It depends on how much money, how much resources we are able to obtain through you. Because if you look at my ideal list, you know how people, they have dream list or fantasy list. For me, it's a realistic list, and it only hinges upon how much money, how much resources we can get from our bosses, and our bosses being you, the viewers. We don't have any other bosses. You put us into business, you determine how much we expend. But let's say if it were to go the way I envision this organization to move forward, we have done a great job with bringing top-notch experts on China, North Korea, on Russia and the Balkans and the EU, on the police state practices, civil liberties, constitutional stuff here domestically in the United States, on technology with Jeff DeRiso's top-notch show, on daily development, perpetual wars with fantastic shows week after week produced by Kurt Nemo, and of course okay, so we have done this. There are a couple of other shows, weekly shows we would like to add, but currently we have basically suspended expansion because we want to be, again, frugal and take these measured, sure steps. I would like to bring in, and there are several candidates, someone who is independent, not tied to the pharmaceutical industry or the corrupt healthcare industry in this country and even elsewhere in the world, but with expertise, okay, with expertise on medical health pharma issue, because that is so important. The same mega pharma corporation is very similar to the example of YouTube, Facebook, you know, those corrupt mega corporations in bed with the deep state controlling the information on the internet. Well, the same thing is true with the mega pharmaceutical companies controlling what gets to be researched, what parts of the findings of these research are published and made available to the public, and the fact that the research itself has integrity, okay? I have a kid, she's 8 years old. I have to go through so many different sites to get this information about what's going on with the vaccine industry. You know, they're bringing few other additional vaccines that haven't even been tested out there, or they haven't even made justifiable explanation why they are necessary. I, as a mother, do not consider my child a guinea pig. So to make the long story short, I want to bring to you with one of the top authorities. I don't want an average Joe who says, this is what I think. I mean, there is nothing wrong with that. But where is your authority? How can you explain and show our people? You know, there are some great scientists. There are still a few left in other countries who come up with these researches that basically debunks the United States evil pharma industry's finding that they are putting out there. Basically, they are countering the fake research finding. We want to be able to communicate that to our viewers and bring. So one more show on health. Another show would be on, you know, all the economy related developments, because they are important and they are hand in hand. A lot of stuff you're seeing happening domestically, internationally, geopolitically, it boils down to what, folks? Usually it comes down to money, whether it's the oil, whether it's the military industrial complex, whether it's the mega banks, the financial industry, the corrupt, despicable Federal Reserve. So I am not an expert. I know, Spiro, you're not an expert. So I know we have been getting the request from our viewers, financial, tackle Federal Reserve. I do not want to do something that is not within the sphere of my knowledge. That would be ridiculous. We won't do that. But I would like for us to hire a top-notch expert, independent being the key word, to have a weekly show. We have a couple of candidates in mind. And again, right now we can't do it. We have to increase the revenue to bring that show. That's for video shows. Once we have that, we are going to have multiple daily shows every day that covers everything. Geopolitics, laws, health, you know, everything that you can think of basically will be covered with that, technology being one of that. The other goal is, and I've been dying, I can't wait to get to that point. I want us to hire top-notch journalists, investigative journalists. We are giving you fantastic analysis, best aggregated news on the internet, according to you. That's based on your feedback, these video shows, but we do not have full-time investigative journalists who are going to expose for the first time so many things that need to be exposed. I mean, we get some of these stories and I mean, we see something and we're like, man, I mean, Spiro and I, we talk about it. Whoa, we need to spend time and go after this. But number one, we are not the investigative journalists at this point. We are wearing multiple hats. We don't have the time and resources. And if we had the resources, we can go to someone who's seasoned, who knows what investigative journalism with integrity, meaning your sources are listed, your facts are triple checked, and you are presenting the checked, good, independent expose. We need that. Another thing we are talking about is having satellite offices. They may be virtual, but have satellite offices in the Middle East, in a couple of places in Europe, also in Asia, South, Central America. That is on our wish list, on our planning list. That again depends on you. It depends on you and the revenue we get. So these are basically the goals we have. A lot of you internationally have been asking us to have subtitles. We would love to do that. And this is a good time, Spiro, to mention a little bit about the demographic of Newsbud. It's really delicious. I love it. It's very interesting because for our Newsbud Academy, by the way, the registration is closed. We successfully registered enough seats that we have a full class here altogether. We're going to be, more than 50 people who will be attending this first course academy offered by Newsbud. It's going to be through Professor Filip Kovacevic. But I was looking at the people who registered, Spiro, and the percentage of U.S. people from the United States American is less than 10%. 90% of our students come from all over the globe. United Kingdom, of course, Canada, but Sweden, Germany, Denmark, Norway. We have one student from India. We have one student from South Africa. We have one student from Iran. It's just when I went, and we have several from the United Kingdom. In a way, it was interesting. It also made me scratch my head because I know our reach in terms of demographic, when you go and look at the alexa.com, it says, okay, something like 60% of your audience, people who click on your website, are from the United States, right? Yet those people who are subscribing to us and register for this course, majority of them are not. I mean, does that say something about the sorry state of our country? The illiteracy promoted by schools, actually furthered by schools, where people, instead of investing on true knowledge, whether it's through good independent books or seminars, good courses, independent courses like this, or sites, I don't know, but it's mind-boggling. So because of that, that is something else we would like to do, provide people with translation subtitles. And as far as hiring people, it's case by cases, but we have certain criteria that we do not compromise from, okay? One is we like independent people, and they go through interview process, but I also take a look at their past work, you know, whether if they have shown up in some other channels, talked about things. If I detect with this nose, okay, any scent that says you are still looking at someone ignorant who has swallowed either the red pill or the blue pill, no way, Jose, okay? It's not happening. I don't hire people that I detect partisanship. It's okay to have philosophy, okay? You may philosophically lean towards, let's say, liberalism. There's nothing wrong with that. It's different than this paradigm that they have established for us, red pill, blue pill, Republican, Democrats. So that is extremely important. The integrity of the character, okay, the quality of the work, the experience, and the relevant knowledge gained in whatever area it is they are applying for. I don't want to say your academic credential is very important, because Spiro, you and I know, unfortunately, you go through that factory of academia. By the time you come out, you actually have been dumbified. The systematic brainwashing to parrot the establishment provided academic information. So they teach you not to engage in critical thinking. They teach you not to challenge the official story, okay? They teach you to consider people like us conspiracy theorists. So I don't say, oh yeah, if you don't have PhD, you're not going to join Newsbud. No, when I say knowledge is, of course, Professor Filip Kovacevic is professor, but he has lived in several countries. He speaks several languages, and he's anti-establishment. First of all, he doesn't care, Republican, Democrats, okay? He's been an activist. So it's case-by-case basis. As far as Kurt Nemo, I don't even know what academia he attended, because it's irrelevant. He's been a journalist for 15, 20 years. He has produced amazing material. His character is known as someone with integrity,